What was your name?
Marilyn Mays.
Marilyn Mays.
Yeah.
Stephen Kreider, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Stephen.
So I just want to make sure that, just to recap here, I said I believe the United States is still the greatest country in the world, superior to all other countries, in my opinion. You're welcome to change my mind. And you said last week, maybe, but this week, an all-time low. What do you mean?
This week, last week, and even this week, we're at an all-time low.
Okay.
You know, I'm just so exhausted over these children, these toddlers being taken.
Yeah.
And I need you to help me understand why we would take babies and toddlers, because in the work I do, it looks to me like since the Russians won't give us babies, they're going to take the little children that just came here and adopt them out.
Since the who won't give us babies?
Russians. You know,
Oh.
the deal fell through in Trump Towers.
That's what you think this is about. That's a joke.
Yeah, right.
Well, let me ask this before we get to, because you're obviously aware of Trump's executive order now.
I am.
Okay, so now they're not going to be separated. They're going to be detained together. So is that progress?
As of this morning, they still are.
Well, yeah, it takes a
Because
while,
they're-
but
yeah,
are you
and
happier
plus
about
the
that?
loopholes. I was really happy about it, and then when I saw the loophole that right after, you know, that last paragraph at the very end, not paragraph, the last phrase at the very end, and I went same stuff, different day.
Yeah,
And then Melania's jacket.
yeah. Well, let me ask you
on,
though.
man.
Hold on. So this has been a week that obviously you disagree with some, the Obama and Clinton
Yes.
policies, the Flores to
Yeah.
consent policy. So your problem isn't with Trump; it's with the Clintons and Obamas. But let me ask you this: does that change? Do you disagree with the premise that the United States is the greatest country in the world, that it's superior to all other countries, or is it just that you're a little worn down from the news week?
I think we're falling in stature. I think that, we've been I've been upset since G7, okay? I've been falling apart since G7, because how would we do our allies like that? This man is just dismantling America, the respect that we have. I can remember last year and the year before going on cruises and Pete just having to apologize for this country. I've never had to apologize for my country. I'm a veteran. I don't understand.
Thank you for your
that.
service.
And it's like I'm up here having to apologize
For what?
because people say, for Trump,
How so?
because he's a humiliation, he's an embarrassment. He doesn't know the King's English.
Okay.
He cannot hold a decent conversation. I don't believe he went to Wharton School of Business. I think somebody else took his test. He is ignorant. Because, a lot of people would send folk to take their test back in the day.
Yeah,
Okay?
I had a guy who actually he would do that when he would weigh in for wrestling practice. He had a
Uh-huh.
twin brother, and his brother would weigh in. But let me ask you, I get that you're not a fan of Donald Trump, and there are a lot of things that I'm not a fan of his either. But I probably support more policies of his than you do, but not all of them. But again, I want to go back to the premise today: is the United States is the greatest country in the world. What do you apologize to people for? How do you believe we're inferior to other countries, or what country do you believe is better than the United States?
I feel like Great Britain and France and Canada, I feel like those countries are are taking the high road. And I feel like everything I believed in is slipping away from me. And I've just been distraught these past 2 weeks. But everything I believed in, when I first fell apart, is the night when I realized about 8 o'clock that evening that Trump was going to win. And I thought, okay, I'm going to work with him, because he's my commander-in-chief. I'm going to try to get with him.
I appreciate that.
But then he just kept being more and more ignorant.
May I stop you for a moment?
Yes.
Really quickly, sorry. I don't want to interrupt, but I want to make sure that this thing keeps falling off. If you see it fall.
Don't let your stuff
I know, you don't want to see what's under here.
we don't wanna
No
see it.
jawline. So you mentioned Canada, Britain, and France. So you believe they're better than the United States. Let me ask you this. You said everything you believe in is disappearing. You're a veteran.
Yes.
Did you serve to protect freedom of speech?
I did.
So what about the fact that those countries don't have freedom of speech? Only the United States does.
But you know what? That's not what I see right now. You only get caught up in what you see.
No. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter what you see as far as...
when I was there.
Well, no, but
I
we
was
have it
speaking all over the place.
constitutionally enshrined here
Yeah.
in Canada, the UK,
Yeah.
France. People are jailed for speech, for offensive things,
Okay.
or fined. That doesn't happen in the United States. We have a constitutional right to freedom of speech. They don't. So wouldn't you say that the United States, certainly as a veteran, if you were serving to protect freedom of speech, is superior to those countries, if only because we're the only country with freedom of speech.
But why I'm so distraught, it looks like we're getting ready to lose it. I mean, anyway, he's playing footsie with Kim and Putin, and applauding Kim for wiping out 3 generals the day before he came, and his people sit up. When I see that, I get nervous, because it looks like if nobody puts that dude in check, we're gonna lose everything. And I'm just sad.
Well, I understand that you're sad, and I'm sorry. I don't like to see anyone sad that you're feeling this way.
I'm sad.
But I'm hearing a lot of how you feel, but I don't think that's really objective reality. Freedom of speech is actually not being eroded here like
you
it is.
think not?
No, not unless the Democrats would have their way. They support hate speech laws. Republicans are the ones who've defended against it. On campus, they're the ones banning points of view.
I can't tell, because the kind of.
Well, you might need to put some conservative sites in your bookmark so you can read both sides, because I'm an ardent defender of freedom of speech. And as a matter of fact, I've had people who try to silence me, people here I feel like we've had a good conversation.
Yeah.
People here at this very convention who threatened to firebomb me, slash my tires, just for me speaking up.
That?
Because they're liberals.
I'm a liberal. I would never do that to you.
Well, then take it up with them.
I would never do that to you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
See, we're more closer friends than me and them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everybody has a right to say what they want to say, but it's like when you start being offensive and hurting people, that's when I start getting nervous. But
it's still protected.
It's
That's
still
why.
prote-
That's
it's
why.
still protected.
Just not in the countries you mentioned.
It's still protected, and so it's like everything I believed in is slipping away.
But would you say that this is some progress in our conversation? It seems to me, and I'm not suggesting at all that you're ignorant. I'm Canadian,
But
so I'm
you're
very
a
aware of
human,
Canadian.
though.
No, but the point is, you suggested these other countries. It doesn't seem like you were totally aware that they don't have freedom of speech.
I wasn't.
So does that change your opinion?
No.
You'd want to live in you think a country with no freedom of speech is superior to the United States? See, that would be where we disagree. I think they're inferior with no freedom of speech.
I just think that we have a pig for a president, and he's making us look bad all over the world. He's ignorant, and I just wish that he would, I know he is who he is, and he deserves to be who he is. But it just is so, everything that I thought of that a president ought to be, he's not. And he's so rude and crude around the edges, and it's
Well, I'll tell you what,
embarrassing.
and I say this respectfully because I still respect him as a president.
I do.
But for me, I felt that way about President Barack Obama. I felt as though...
You didn't think he was born in wherever that was Trump lied about, did you?
What was that? No, I don't think he was born in
Okay.
Kenya. No. I just think he was a terrible president. But I respect the office, and I respect that you feel that
He
way.
knew the King's English, and he knew the law. This dude don't know nothing. I mean, I don't even think he's a good businessman because he filed bankruptcy.
We have
7
record
suits,
low
7
unemployment,
times.
record high job participation.
That's very nice.
We're
but
doing
what are
very well.
wages? What are wages?
They're doing really well. We have the
Yeah.
highest. As a matter of fact, are you surprised to learn that the United States has the highest wages in the world? Average income?
I'm not surprised about that.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
I'm not surprised about that, and that's a very good thing, and I'm happy about that. But my thing is, okay, Trump, you didn't marry American. Trump, you didn't. You've got all those immigrants working for you.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people that work for Trump.
Yeah, but there's a difference between legal and illegal immigrants. But
I know it, but what about Americans? I mean, you so pro-American. Let's see Americans with most of these jobs, and I know it's all these jobs that Americans don't want to do. I know that. I get that,
Okay.
but it's just that
Well,
I
appreciate you taking that. I'm sorry to see you sad.
I'm
Can I
sad.
give you one piece of advice? Don't
Yeah.
place so much credence in one man. You know what I mean? You're responsible for your own happiness. It's not
I
the state.
know.
It's not the government. Do you have a family?
You just destroyed everything that I
But
thought
do you have a
my
family?
country was. I love my folks.
Do you have a good family?
Yes.
Focus on your family and focus on your health. I do think, even though I didn't like Barack Obama, I did notice a lot of people on the right were so miserable and they thought everything was over. Listen, it's one man. We have safeguards in this country.
It's one man and the Freedom Caucus.
But
It's
my
like
point
it's
is,
so
you can
much
still choose to be
hate.
happy. I don't hate you.
I don't hate you.
And I'm a conservative Republican.
And I'm very happy to meet somebody like you. And some of my good friends are Republicans,
Yeah.
And we agree to disagree. It's just that this was a bad 2 weeks.
Yeah, I can understand how it would be rough for you.
Just, babies, the work I do, I represent children as their guardian.
Mm-hmm.
And I see what it does when you move a child. And I know the parents are at fault for bringing them here. And I know that people don't want to invest.
And Clinton for signing the policy, and
Yeah.
Obama then for doubling back and not enforcing it.
Exactly. And so I realized that if you got to pay to play in the world. And sometimes you got to invest money in these other countries to keep them at home. And I know that that's a problem, okay? That's the first thing I learned in political science, that sometimes you got to pay to play. And if you're not willing to invest in keeping those folk at home, and that's another monster, because if we get off into that, our soldiers get killed, and it's another big old mess. So I'm just sad.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, thank you for taking. Hey, you want a hug? You want a hug for
I
us?
do. I want a Republican hug.
A Republican. An Uncle Sam hug. Well, thank you so much for taking
the.
the.
I'm gonna speak well of you.
Me, that's okay. Hey, listen, I get it. There are a lot of Republicans who are jerks, but I appreciate you taking the
But
time.
you're a good Republican. I'm pleased to have
I'm
you.
conservative, libertarian conservative.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
if you see someone trying to firebomb this booth, tell them to stop.
I'm gonna tell them don't do it because you're a reasonable man.
Thank you
okay?
very much. I
And
appreciate
I
it.
don't believe you've lied about anything.
I try
And
not to.
Trump is a liar. My God.
Well, I think
Why
that's
is he lying?
politicians in general.
I know, but not every other word. Come on, man. Help me with that. I pray for
I
him.
can't.
I even pray for him.
I appreciate that.
I pray for him every day.
You know what? I pray
And
for
I
him,
want
and
him
I
to
prayed
be
for
like
Barack
me.
Obama as well. I think we
don't
share a lot of
want him-
common ground.
I don't want him to be like me. I pray for him to be who he is, but he's just so destructive in my eyes. And I realized that we were raised under different circumstances. You know, we come from a different world. But I just
Okay.
wish
thank you.
he could be more like Jeb Bush. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think Jeb Bush wishes he could be more like
I
Jeb
know.
Bush. He's such a wiener. But
I
all
know.
right. Well, thank you.
I mean, my Republican didn't win, okay?
Yeah.
But that's not why I'm upset, you know.
Right. I
My
hear you.
Republican didn't win.
Well,
So-
thank you. I don't want to keep you all down. We have to keep the chair for other people.
Oh,
But
keep
thank you
the
so much for
chair
taking the
for
time.
other
Yeah.
Thank you for being a good conservative.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being so pleasant and respectful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Not so sad.
Is this yours or is this ours? This is ours?
I hope that's yours.
Okay, it's ours. Thank you. Apologies. Thank you so. God bless you.
Bye.
Bye. That was great.